Hello guys, how are you doing? Henry here, and in this video, I'm going to be interviewing Tafara Butayi, an author of 5 well-sought-after books, as well as the lead pastor of one of the fastest growing churches on this continent. So guys, you know that on this channel, my passion is to inspire you to reach your personal, and career goals. And one of the ways that we actually do that is through, interviewing entrepreneurs, who have managed to establish sustainable organizations so far. So today, as I said, I've got Tafara Butayi, Pastor Tafara Butayi. And he is basically, as I said, the author of 5 sought-after books, one of them, Grace in the Marketplace, which I have right here. And he's also, the church, Faith Hill Church, is turning 6 this year. Yes. And it's got 3 campuses in this country. And it's actually got a global reach, all over the world, impacting lives in the UK, the US, Australia, India, and of course the continent at large. And I know you're also a host of, Faith Hill on TBN, reaching 10 million homes on the continent. So, sir, thank you for coming through.
Hey, man, thanks for having me on this brand new channel. Awesome. It's a privilege to be on the channel during these early stages before you're reaching millions all over the world. Thank you for inviting me, man.
I'm
looking forward to it.
It's a privilege to have you here, man. I know you've got a busy schedule, but thank you for coming through.
Praise God.
So I think you've got all this success happening. You've established something which is sustainable. So tell us, sir, what is your story, man? How did you do this, to actually, transition, or how did you navigate, life from being a young man, out of school into varsity, into the workplace, then finally, walking your purpose and establishing such a, growing organization?
I think, right from the start, one of the things that my parents did right from, the get-go is that they encouraged us to serve. So, we grew up in a traditional church where people who serve in the candle boys, in the altar with the priest, they're actually called servers. Wow. And so one of the goal for every single one of my siblings, at least from my parents' perspective, was to be one of those boys, the altar boys, one of the servers. That's what we called them in our church growing up. So my parents have always inspired us to serve people and serve our community. So from such a tender age, we were, taught to serve others. Wow. And transitioning to varsity, I got involved with another church, in the new city that I was in at the time. Now I was in Harare, and we were fellowshipping at St. Luke's Church in Greendale, which is quite close to where you live, back home. And
I actually grew up there.
Yeah, and so I went there, and again the Spirit was serving, and so there I served in the youth as one of the youth leaders. And also served in the young adults as one of the young adults leaders there. And at the same time, I was studying in university, and I was also serving. So serving has been a part of my life, both in the business world, in the marketplace, and also at church. So after university, I then got my first job with Nestle Zimbabwe, and I worked there for a few years, and then I moved on to Kodak. Worked there for a few years in the marketing team, and then I moved over to Net One and worked there for a few years as well. And then an opportunity came up to work in Johannesburg, South Africa, for an engineering firm, which I took, and I worked there for another 3-4 years, and got promoted. At the time I left for ministry, I was actually second in charge, reporting to the owner of the business. And it was just God's favor in the marketplace, and it was just a phenomenal journey of learning as well in the marketplace. So I've been in the marketplace working a full-time job over 12 years
Wow.
before
So,
going into ministry.
man, so that's amazing, man. So you actually worked for 12 years
Yeah.
before going into full-time ministry.
Yeah.
So did you actually have a time when you were, working full-time in your workplace and also working in ministry as well?
Yeah, I think most of my adulthood, I've always been involved in ministry at a high level and at an intense level, in terms of what I would go and do at the church. And for most of those years, particularly the last 5, before 2016, when I then went full time. So I've lived in ministry. I've probably been in ministry with a dual role more of my time than I've been full time in ministry.
Man.
So I did that, and I did both. You just have to do both, and work a job and also be in church until such a time when I couldn't do both. My schedule. Things started to happen. I've had to travel overseas and minister. I've had to also run Grace in the Marketplace, which is also intense in its own right, and do podcasts and record all kinds of things and reach people all over the world, which was becoming busy and also taking time from my work schedule. So that's when the decision came that I now had to go full time and just kind of focus on what the Lord had me do in this season.
Wow, man, that's amazing. So, are there some practical skills that you actually learned or ways of organizations that you actually learned during the time that you're actually working in corporate, as a marketing executive, up until the time obviously you transited full time? What are some of those lessons that you actually learned? Which you can say that, wow, this was very beneficial for me, what I learned, and I'm actually implementing it and it's working right now.
Yeah, it's interesting that you asked that question, because a lot of people think, once you come into ministry, you don't need any of the skills from the marketplace, but it's actually the opposite. Ministry is actually more demanding. One of the qualities you're going to need that I brought over from marketplace into ministry was leadership. By the time I left the organization, my last organization to work for, I was a business development director, and I had staff under me here in Johannesburg and also in Botswana. And just people management, Monday through Friday, having a team under you that needs to be inspired Monday through Friday. That's a key skill that I learned in the marketplace. Moreover, in the ministry, you need that even more, because now you're not, in the marketplace, you're dealing with people that get paid. So at least they have some form of motivation, or at least some
obligation.
Obligation. They feel like,
paid,
you know what I
they have
mean?
to deliver,
And they feel like, what? At the end of the month, I'm going to get this paycheck. Now in ministry, most of the people you're working with are volunteers, and they don't have any other obligation. Of course, those that are mature feel like they have an obligation, but we preach grace. So even with that, they don't feel like there's an obligation to do anything. It has to come from inspiration. And so in ministry, most of the pastors don't get the leadership credit that they deserve, but they are leading people who need to be inspired. You're not paying most of the people, they're volunteers, most of the people that do the work of the ministry, and you have to be an inspiring leader. You have to bring inspiration to the table, and that's the only way you're gonna lead that organization. One of the other things that I also learned in the marketplace that I've brought over into the ministry is that you can't do everything. Once you come into the ministry, one of my greatest, you always hire according to your weaknesses. One of my greatest weaknesses is admin. I'm not good at admin. I'm not the one to put structures and I'm not good at that. I'm really good at inspiring and sharing vision and teaching the word. I believe that's my dominant gift, but I'm not good at putting things in order and things of that nature and doing books. And so I don't even run the finances of the church that I pastor. Someone else does, because they are gifted in that arena. And I don't even run the structures, and I don't get involved into, of course, I'm involved in terms of who we appoint, because spiritually I believe God shows me certain things and so on and so forth, and who we promote and so on and so forth. But I'm not involved in terms of what this should look like and so on and so forth. I have guys like you, praise God. I have guys like Dillian, my wife, and our ex-co eldership team. Man, phenomenally gifted people that we work with that help just run the ministry. And so I think one of the things I've learned is you can't do everything. So my encouragement to business people out there would be, one of the things you're going to have to do right at the beginning is to think about hiring staff that can do the things that you are not good at. And then even the things that you are good at, you need to get some people to transfer some of those skills so that you can focus on the main thing. You can keep the main thing the main thing. You know, so for example, if you're in business, the main thing is to sell. If you're in the ministry, the main thing is to transform lives. You know, I can't be using most of my time just doing, you know, organizational stuff without focusing on the main thing, which is people's lives.
Wow, man, that's amazing, guys. You know what, guys? If you are actually getting value out of this video, you know, hit that like button. And if it's your first time, you know, subscribe to this channel.
Come on.
There's much more coming through your way. So, you know, Pastor Torres said, you know what, I'm also part of the team. You know, I run the operations, you know, at Faith Hill Church. And one thing that I've seen is that, you know, and why, you know, it's such a joy and it's exciting to work with you is that, you know, you bring in like the marketing, you know, into, you know, the practical marketing. I mean, what we do is that we actually, you know, look at marketing strategies, you know, what's working elsewhere, you know, social media and things like that. And we actually incorporate it into ministry. So I'm sure, you know, that's one of the big takeaways.
One of my strengths.
You know, because of, you know, your degree in marketing and also your opportunity of, you know, implementing those skills practically. You know, so I say that to say, you know, there are some valuable skills that can actually be learned, you know, in the marketplace.
No time is wasted in the marketplace. You know, if you believe God has called you, or you have a dream to start a business, you know, a passion to start a business, you have a passion to start your own organization, and right now you happen to be working for somebody else or in another organization, man, don't waste that time just, you know, waking up and doing the bare minimum. It's an opportunity for you to learn. It's an opportunity for, I think it's your testimony as well. I'd like to watch the video that you're going to share that testimony of how you started your own business and so on and so forth. But, you know, one of the things we share, and, you know, with our young people in our church is that don't waste the opportunity that you have at the moment working for somebody else. You know, it's a glorious opportunity. They're paying you, you know, to come and learn.
Come and learn.
It's like university, awesome. Except this one, you're getting paid. You know, it's different from going to any other, you know, educational institution. So learn. You know, Billy Epperhart, one of my mentors, calls it stewarding the season that you're in. You know, you need to learn how to steward the season you're in. Go in there, pour your heart out, and learn things about finances, learn things about accounting, learn things about marketing, learn things about
attitude. You know, how does your boss handle pressure?
Exactly.
When things are going bad. You know?
Come on. Learn all those things so that one day when you're out there and God has, you know, launched you and, you know, your dream is finally unfolding, you can actually put those things into practice and help your own organization go to the next level.
Wow, man, that's amazing, guys. I mean, that's value right there. And I think for me, why, you know, I was so excited about having this, you know, interview with you, is that dynamic you said. You know, you were working full time and also working on what, you know, you believe that God had actually called you to do. And I think I'm also in the same boat right now. Even though I'm running my own business, but still I'm in operations at Faith Hill. And that's going to be for a long time. You know what I'm trying to say?
Come on.
And I see value in that. I see value in that. And I want you just to address, you know, this situation whereby most people feel that, you know what, for me, I cannot continue, you know, I'm passionate. Yes, God has given you the dream to do your own thing. That means that I need to stop, you know, working for someone else and now just run with that.
Yeah, I mean, it flows in both directions. You know, there are other people who were running their own businesses and now God called them into ministry to support someone else. And there are other people who were working for someone else, and God launches them out to start their own thing. It works in, I mean, it's just amazing what begins to happen when you start listening to the voice of the Holy Spirit. You know, one example I can think of right now is a guy who works for the church in the U.S., one of the largest churches in America, called Life Church. You know, Craig Groeschel is the pastor there.
Wow.
And he had one of the guys who was a business owner in the tech space, you know, in Silicon Valley, doing stuff there, and God called him to come to Life Church to work with Pastor Craig Groeschel. And when he joined Life Church, he is ultimately the guy who's responsible for starting the YouVersion Bible, which most of us use on our apps.
Yeah, man, that's amazing.
And that guy started it specifically for Life Church, and now it's being used globally. Many churches are plugging in and using that app, but he used it, and God called him back into the church. And so, you know, the idea is not to be quick, to want to just jump in there and drop what you're doing. Don't be rigid, you know. A lot of young people, they have a big prophet come to town and he lays hands on them. He says, man, you are called to be a prophet. And tomorrow they want to quit their job, and, you know, that's just, there's no wisdom in that.
There's no wisdom.
There's no wisdom in that. So I knew from 2002 that God called ministry, but I stayed on into the marketplace, and I poured my life out. I mean, you know my schedule. In the business world, we would travel to India, China, we would travel to Europe, drive to Botswana. I mean, I was dedicated in my job, and I learned a lot.
You know, on Sunday you were bringing the house down, you know, in church, man. I mean, that's amazing.
Working. And also because I didn't want to put pressure on this young baby church that we had started, and just put pressure on it to say, look after me. I knew that God had given me my skills for a reason, and I could go into the marketplace and a living. So young people, you know, if I could address them, one of the things you don't want to do is be quick with the vision of God. You actually would rather be late, you know, than be too early. We know what happens when a baby is born too early. It's going to be a lot more care, a lot more expenses. ICU. I mean, you're going to pay a lot more medical bills for that vision.
That's true. That's true, man.
And, you know, especially if you're married. I mean, your wife is going to be looking at you.
She's not going to be excited, man, about
you quitting your job so you can do Facebook ministry. No, don't do that, brother.
Yeah.
And so you'd rather be late than be too early, because if the baby gets born at 41, guess what? There's going to be less. So, you know, wait on the Lord. Chill out, you know. I think just chill out and wait on the Lord.
Man, and as you're saying, guys, as you're saying, Pastor T, is that, you know, it doesn't mean the baby was not supposed to be born. The baby was supposed to be born
at the right time,
but it was only at the right time. And guys, I got a video, you know, which I did, you know, a few weeks ago, actually last week, about how I also, you know, faced trouble because of trying to rush, you know, the vision too far. So yes, I mean, prophetic words were there, you know, you're going to be a big businessman, but there is a process. Because God will always give you an idea, and I'm just going to put it out there, you know, which is ahead of its time.
Come on.
You know, that's why it's a prophetic word. It's an idea ahead of its time, but you need to know how to walk that idea and bring it to pass.
I mean, Joseph, he was told by God that, you know, at one point he was going to be promoted to a level where his siblings would bow down to him, or at least he's going to be a man of influence. And it took over 12 years for him to see it come to fruition. And even after he was promoted to become king, it took another 7 years for him to actually see his brothers come and submit to that influence. So, I mean, there's no hurry when it comes to God's vision. It's similar to Abraham. I think it took another 35 years for him to see Isaac born. So, you know, it's very important. Sometimes God can do it overnight. We don't discount that. But it's always better to be late rather than to be too early with the vision.
That's amazing. And I think one thing, one story which is in this book, Grace in the Marketplace, you know, it's actually the story of Jacob and Laban. And it actually, you know, goes into these issues of how he was actually, you know, transitioned from being an employee or from employment into shareholding.
Come on.
You know, can you just speak a bit about that? Because you write it so well in this book, Grace in the Marketplace.
And, so in the story of Jacob and Laban, Jacob gets the blessing from his father Esau, and then he takes off on a journey. And funny enough, the first thing Jacob does, even though he's blessed, even though he has a dream of owning his own business and having his own empire, the first thing he does is he gets employment. You know, if you read the story, it says when Jacob came to the well, he met with Rachel, who was Laban's daughter at the well, and he had great initiative, and we go into detail in this book. When he got to the well, there were other shepherds who were looking after, Laban's animal there. And when he got there, he had great initiative. He says, come on, guys, let's open this well. Let's roll the stones so the animals can drink, and let's go back to the field so they can graze some more. In other words, let's put in more work than, just 8 to 5.
Than the bare minimum. Right?
Than the bare minimum. And this guy doesn't even have an employment contract yet.
Wow.
And yet he's showing great initiative. He's not waiting for a paycheck to do or to apply himself. He's doing way more than what a paycheck could do for him. So he does that, and then when he gets to meet Laban later on, he shares the story of what had transpired with the shepherds, and he was saying, you know what? This is what this is the great idea that I had. And you know what Laban said? Laban is a smart man. He said, young man, you're hired.
Wow.
So Laban hires Jacob, and Jacob works for Laban, I think, close to 14 years, because the first 7 years he's worked to get to marry Rachel. He got tricked, and he ended up marrying Leah. After 14 years, he then married Rachel, and right at the end of that conversation, he goes back to Laban. He says, you know what, I'm ready to resign and start my own firm. And Laban said, no, I can't let you go, because I know that this company has prospered because of you. I wish many companies would say that about Christians.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, they would come to churches and say, you know what, send us more of those Christians.
Send them over.
You know what I mean? And so Laban said, I'm not going to let you go, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to propose shareholding. Jacob, he said, name your wages. And Jacob said, you know what, I propose shareholding, and all the animals that are going to be spotted and striped, those are going to belong to me, and the ones that have solid colors are going to be yours. And we know that in the course of that period, God blessed him tremendously, and most of the animals that came out, the sturdier ones, the strong ones, were all striped and spotted, which is an exception. We used to go to the rural areas and look after our grandparents and our parents' animals. The striped and the spotted ones are the exception.
Yeah.
But not in this particular instance. In this particular instance, they are the ones that were growing because God had put his blessing on it. And right at the end, Jacob finally left, but he left with all kinds of wealth. I mean, he was a prosperous man, and he left and started his own empire. He didn't start from scratch, because he had taken advantage of stewarding the season of employment.
Wow. Wow.
And when you steward the season of employment right, you're not going to have to go out there and start from scratch. Even your employer will support you.
Wow.
They will send good people. They will send customers. They will even buy shareholding from your company, because they know your attitude. They know your work ethic. They know the blessing of the Lord, the favor of God on your life, and they will just do. They will just support you.
Man, that's quite amazing. And there's one thing you just said about the way Jacob approached Laban, to actually start working, like basically his job interview, which I've been pondering about this. I mean, guys, we are currently in a sort of economic downturn. People have lost jobs. For the young people are probably wondering, saying, so what's next? My parent was probably retrenched. This is the career I was going through, heading towards, but people are being retrenched there. What else can I do? And you said something very interesting about the way, Jacob actually approached Laban with a solution for him to increase his business. You know what I'm trying to say?
Come on.
So this can be a tip for you in interviews. You can't just go there and say, what are you going to give me? You need to say, this is what I'm going to do. And not only just improving systems and things which are not tangible, I'm going to increase sales. I'm going to increase the asset base of this company.
Yeah, man, get involved, volunteer. If you're a Christian, volunteer at your church. Church has become a free training ground for all kinds of life skills. Last week I was talking to some of the guys at our church, and in our meeting with the media.
I was there as well.
You were there, yeah.
How we shoot better videos and things like this.
And I mean, become a place to learn life skills, from video skills, editing skills. In fact, one of the channels I follow is a guy I think we're going to put the link in the description. He's a guy in Colorado. He's a part of the media team at a church, small church in Colorado. He's got thousands upon thousands of followers on YouTube, and he's just sharing the media skills that he took from his small church. And he's sharing with the world, and he's created a new source of income. He's created a new opportunity to influence and impact people and change people's lives. And where did he learn that? He didn't go to university to learn that. He just learned that from church. Man, when you become a HOD of a department, you're going to learn how to manage people, because all kinds of people come to church, man. People with attitudes, people who let you down, people who, it's crazy.
All sorts of crazy.
And guess what? They're training you. They're giving you people skills, leadership. They're giving you all kinds. So church, man, when I look at church, it's free training ground. If you're not a believer, you can go to volunteer at a social club, organization, that's
civil rights movement, whatever you want to do, man.
That's feeding people. Just give back. You think you're giving back, but actually you're getting skills. And so again, that would be my encouragement, is that get involved, get your hands dirty, and get some life skills. Some of our guys, I was calling them after church last week, and I was saying, man, now you have skills to run your own media company.
That's true.
Some of them have been involved with us for a long time. Myself, I edit most of our videos. Where did I learn that? At church, and they gave us an opportunity to learn, and you can learn so many life skills, because your career, the way it's structured from the university degree in 1974 when they came up with the faculty, it's not going to cut it in 2020. A lawyer is going to have to learn how to YouTube.
Edit videos.
Edit videos. A lawyer, you're going to have to learn how to reach people. There are all kinds of things happening right now, and we just need to be ahead of the game. As children of God, we need to be short. We have guys in our media team who now know how to make short movies, short films. And guess what? It starts with a 5-minute movie. And then as you learn how to develop your skills in writing stories, it's going to be a 45-minute sitcom. It's going to be a 1 hour, 30-minute movie on Netflix. Why not?
Blockbuster.
You know what I mean? But it starts with stewarding the season that you're in. So if you're out there and you're still here, don't be rigid, don't be in a box. Think outside of the box.
And just one more thing, I just wanted to go through, with you in terms of your story and all these things. It's just the issue of honor. The issue of honor. Honoring. Those who are, we've got authority over you, honoring your bosses, honoring, your pastors, honoring your parents. Honor, how important has honor been to you with regards to honoring relationships? How important has that been with regards to you moving to where you are right now?
I have a statement that I live by, and this statement is this, that relationships are the currency of life. So forget about the money. Money is not that important. Relationships is the currency of life. If you can learn how to steward relationships, man, you are on your way up. You're on your way to the top. If you learn how to steward relationships, you're on your way top. And the binding force behind relationships, the glue, if you will, behind keeping relationships is honor.
Wow.
There are certain people that I've opened doors for in the past that I'll never open another door for in their lives.
Man, and when you open the door for you, man, that's an easy door to open. Believe me.
There are certain people, because of dishonor, I look at it like, you know what? I'm just not going to do anything for you. I love you because Jesus commands us to love you. But I'm just not going to do anything for you another day in my life. You know why? Because of dishonor. So honor keeps the channels open. It keeps the floor open. Whether you're honoring your boss, if you want your boss to do things for you and the principle of honor is very important. And honor is demonstrated in several ways. One of the ways you can demonstrate honor is by valuing their input. Out of the the different kinds of proteges that I have as a mentor. I have real, genuine proteges who listen to my advice. Then I have opportunistic proteges who just want me for stuff. And because of the Spirit of God and all the experience that I've had and the wisdom that I've developed over the years, you can discern whether this protege is just out to get a door and to just out to take advantage of some of the relationships that I have, or they're really here to take my advice and so on and so forth. And so honor is very important. One of the ways the quickest way to destroy your life and your career, your assignment, is to destroy relationships and to walk in dishonor. The quickest way to shut down what God is getting ready to do in your life is to live a life of rebellion and dishonor and just not respecting your elders. That's where it starts, not respecting your parents. The Bible tells us, honor your father and your mother, your earthly father and your mother, so that things may be well with you, and so that you may. It's the only commandment with a promise. And it's the only commandment that's also repeated in the book of Ephesians in the New Testament. The Apostle Paul found it fitting to repeat the commandment of honor. He says, if you honor your father and your mother, things are going to be well with you. And I want to extend it to, if you honor those above you, if you honor those that have gone before us, the older ones in our community, we have to listen to them. They know things that guys. we don't know. The people that are experts in their own spheres, we need to listen to them and draw from them. So the key, there's just so much that happens when you understand the dynamics in honor, and some of the relationships God has brought into our lives, some of the friends that God has brought into our lives, and the reason why God keeps bringing more is because of honor. And some of them will break their back to open doors for us. And the reason is because we honor that relationships. The relationship, we don't treat it cheaply. Yeah, so it's very important.
Guys, honor is the key, guys. Amongst young people, young people always tell, what, I know more than my boss. I don't even know. Man, that's a big mistake.
Oh, that's terrible.
Man, never do that. There's nothing like that. They are your boss for a reason. They are your teacher for a reason. When you honor, you receive from that person, and you can be able to do much more.
Come on.
So, Pastor Tafara, thank you very much, for taking your time.
Thanks for the privilege.
But just one more thing, what would you like to encourage, not only the young people, who are trying to figure that, what else am I going to do getting into varsity in the workplace? But even those who find themselves now, trying to look for the next step in their lives, or that they've got a vision God has put them, put in their hearts, but with everything happening right now. What word do you have for them? Just an encouragement to say that, the future is bright.
The future is really bright. I would say just get involved, get out there, get your hands dirty, get involved. I think this generation needs to get involved more than any other generation because we have become very individualistic. People are sitting on a train on their phone. They're not even saying hi to the next person sitting next to them on how train or on a bus. Man, they're not even saying.
Crazy story. You know what actually happened the other day? We were buying stuff in one of the, the big retail stores, and this guy thought, he was alone. He was helping me buy something. It was a bit heavy. And he said, no, I've got someone helping me. And the guy had to apologize.
Yeah, that was crazy. The guy wanted to help me carry this heavy load. And then I said to him, oh, no, don't worry. Henry's here. He's going to help me carry this load. And he was like, oh, no, I'm so sorry for wanting to help. That's crazy. Yeah, and I said to him, you don't have to apologize. That's a good attitude. Like you. Yeah. So get yourself involved. If you see an old lady struggling to carry something, get your hands dirty. If you go to if you belong to a social organization, Rotaract, Impact, those I don't know if they still exist. Toastmasters, man. Go there and be the one who gets there first. Set up chairs for everybody. Get involved. Don't just be individualistic. Refuse to conform to what society is trying to get you into.
And I can say one thing for sure, that is this man is involved. He's the first person at the setup with the chairs, the last person out. So I can tell you what he's saying, it's really what
I play basketball on Wednesdays at the basketball courts out here in Johannesburg. I'm the first one there. If there's the wet spots on the court, man, just mop, get involved. You know, it's amazing how many relationships came out of that. You know, with the people who run the basketball courts, and it's amazing how many relationships you can develop when you decide, you know what, I'm actually going to get involved in helping people.
Wow.
And in making a difference. And so I would say, you know what, get your hands dirty. But while you're getting your hands dirty, be sure to learn a life skill.
Okay, guys, that was Pastor Tafara with his story about how he successfully navigated, you know, from being in school to university to corporate and eventually being the lead pastor of one of the fastest growing churches on the continent. And if you'd want to see Pastor Tafara back on this channel, addressing some specific questions you might have with regards to your calling, please put those requests in the comment section below, and I'll be sure to get him back on this channel. And guys, if you haven't subscribed, or you haven't shared this channel, this video to someone because of the value, please do so now. Hit that share button, hit the subscribe button now, and like this video. Guys, God bless you. I love you, and I'll see you on the next video.